secret little goblins, and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about something that's within our niche, and something a bit hidden, something a bit darker, something a bit more conspiratorial. And sadly, yes, it's going to be an anti-Semitic one. So, do you remember how our video went on not too long ago about cultural Marxism? Yeah, basically this is that. However, this time we're looking at finance and how people accuse the people with the most money of being a big bad, but sadly not in our normal cool way. Basically, someone may use the term of either the Cabals or referring to the meddling of international bankers. Now, these terms will always be selected for very precise reasons, and now that we've covered those reasons in a previous video, how's about, instead of talking about them again now, and we might talk about them later, I thought we should talk about what words could be used instead if someone's trying not to sound like an anti-Semite, but is really being one. And we can see why those words are so prevalent. So, our first entry is: although its name is of one of the enemy factions in Destiny, the term Cabal barely ever shows up in our modern tongue, in any other case than, you know, the anti-Semite thing. So, what does the word mean? Well, according to the Merriam-Webster, the term Cabal means the contrived schemes of a group of persons secretly united in a plot to overthrow the government, and the group that pulls off such schemes. Now, the definition of this term is a little bit obvious in what it means and why it is used in this exact setup. And it only gets more damning when you look at synonyms for the terms being conspiracy, crew, gang, mafia, mob, ring, and syndicate. It's not that there's a lot of leeway there either, is there? I mean, call them a conspiracy and, well, you've already lost the subtlety of your conspiracy theory. Crew, gang, mob, mafia, syndicate, they all sound super cool, don't they? And you don't want your anti-Semitism to make the Jewish people you're trying to gamer-hate for sound like the raddest dudes ever, like something out of Solo, a Star Wars story. A ring, well, you already used that with the political paedophile ring setup, didn't you? So really, there's only one word left, and also maybe pick the word used so prevalently in the book A Children's History of England by Charles Dickens, who is somehow a super respected author in so many education systems when he had a bit of an anti-Semitic and racist streak that can't be avoided. So now that we've looked at that, maybe now we move on to now this one is a bit of a weird one. If you don't follow where the previous video has come from, we can see it is stated plainly here on the totally true and based in evidence site trueconspiracies.com in their post How the International Bankers Conspiracy Formed Banks, Suppressed History and Caused Wars, Assassinations and Depressions. In their findings, Richard Hall, the only person I can find who put their name to this, and I wonder why that is, claims that as of 2004, again, the latest date I can find, maybe the feds got them, or maybe they gave up wasting all their time on this garbage, that the last 200 years of wars were deliberately caused by the international bankers and their associates trying to control the world, where each war was funded, and there was a lot of paid propaganda through the conspirators. The media sounds familiar. These wars were paired with both loans that the bankers could make powerful returns on, and boom and busts with depressions and recessions. So there was, I assume, a lot to buy up for cheap, then sell for profit, which was an aim to weaken and tame governments into accepting the conspirators' solutions. With the history books being controlled too, so the truth would never get out. Now, I'm going to stop reading and paraphrasing this because I can feel the brainworms growing. And I'm not going out like this. I have way too much to do yet. So there's one small problem in this insane conspiracy theory. And that is, capitalism does the exact same thing. I mean, the exact same thing. Like, Donald Trump, Mark Zuckerberg, all have done the boom and bust ride-outs and have pushed for their ends to be met by government figures. I mean, America has fought for oil in the Middle East for how many decades now, and have pulled out a couple of months ago? That's not a big win. That's like chump change. So what is the difference between me saying capitalists and the opposition saying international bankers? Well, first of all, there's people like Caleb Maupin, who's a Nazbol.
Nazbol, or National Bolshevik, is a person following a radical political movement that combines ultranationalism and communism. Like the horrible offspring of Nazis and Stalinists. This has been a use of the identify spell.
And Alexander Dugin, who kind of made Nazbols a thing, who used this term. See it here.
Background, but I saw Donald Trump speak, and there were many times that he spoke, and I applauded. I heard him talk about how, there's this elite that is not loyal to the United States, these international bankers.
As they openly admit that they agree with fascism, and who belong to a group that openly tried to recruit from the Hitler Youth in the 30s because their parties had a lot in common. Also, pretty damning that you can find that there is a lot of information where Dugin viewed National Bolsheviks as a point between communists and fascists. This is where the context of the individual resides. As a capitalist is a capitalist. You can have a Christian capitalist, you can have a Sikh capitalist, you can have a Jewish, Muslim, atheist, pagan, anything capitalist. It's not something that comes with the baggage of the term as international bankers. This baggage comes from the history of the Jewish people only being trusted in money-lending jobs throughout the Middle Ages. This came from Torah writings, which placed them as individuals who understood itemic value and what a loan meant, and would be fair levels of interest that would go alongside. This later fell into propaganda of the Christian church at the time, which then took Jesus' words out of context about freeing debts where you can, which made the Jewish people look cheap, tight-fisted, extortionate, which then the tithe-demanding priests would go on to look generous and kind and caring. This type of issue in the historical context is a snowball down a hill effect, where the stories would keep circulating, and suddenly the head of your bank, or a Chancellor of the Exchequer, or the head of the International Banking Committee would have shown to have Jewish faith, and to the right people, all this does is confirm what they have believed. So where do we go from here? Easy. You know the terms. Keep your eyes peeled. Keep your ears on the floor. Those terms could change slightly, but you now understand a little more of the context. The ideas of the global elite that do not have a care for a particular nation. Well, that's a nationalist talking point. Just like the rhetoric of Brexit, or talk of the UN deals and the Paris Climate Accords that Trump tried to pull, or did pull out from. The words may be different, or their inflection may be sneakier, but the type of person that uses this type of term doesn't change. Don't be afraid to do research on people. all that happens is that you learn something. Because without research, Caleb Maupin is nothing more than an ex-campaigner who had a bad guest on.
I made a video where I made fun of Caleb Maupin and Jody Brar as the latter said all sorts of wild transphobic shit, and then the former nodded along gormlessly.
Not a shitty author with a book that no one can buy. And what happens if you mess up? You've been worried about nothing. However, if it is serious, you've helped someone. Very maybe saved their life.
I see you have watched all the way to the end. This is good. This is what is best. Videos like this are far from monetizable and needs your support to grow. So, if you wish to support our broadcasts in the future, like, subscribe, ring the bell. If you see fit to add some pieces to our coin purse, then my caster will feel ever so grateful. Thank you for your time. This has been another use of the Identify spell.